I overheard my wife drunkenly laughing with her friends. He's too stupid to realize I've been cheating for years. They all roared with laughter. I didn't say a word. But when she showed up crying at my door, she got a surprise she never expected. I, 33M, never thought I'd be that guy posting on this sub, but here I am. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. So here's the thing. Last weekend, I was supposed to be on an overnight trip with the boys to watch the game 2 states over. Been planning it for months. But Daryl's kid got sick last minute, so we had to cancel. NBD, shit happens. I figured I'd surprise Heather, 32F, my wife of 8 years, by coming home early. Yeah, I know how that usually goes in these stories, but trust me, what happened next was somehow worse than walking in on her with another dude. As I pulled into our driveway around 9 p.m., I noticed several cars parked outside. Recognized Michelle's Subaru and Kathleen's Honda right away. Heather had mentioned having the girls over while I was gone, so this checked out. I was about to walk in the front door when I heard them all on our back deck through the side gate. They were being loud. Wine drunk loud. I was going to head around back to say hi when I heard my name, so I paused. Call it instinct, whatever. Griffin is just so... I can't even... Heather was slurring her words slightly. The girls all giggled. OMG, I still can't believe you've kept this going so long, Michelle's voice. He's too stupid to realize I've been cheating for years. Heather practically shouted it. They all roared with laughter. I literally froze mid-step, like my brain just stopped working for a sec. Sutton's been the best decision I ever made, Heather continued. Last week, while Griffin was working late, Sutton came over and we did it right on the couch where Griffin takes his precious naps. More cackling laughter. No, the sacred nap couch, Kathleen shrieked like this was the funniest thing ever. You should have seen how sweet Griffin was the next day, making me breakfast. If he only knew what his precious wife had been doing the night before, my stomach dropped to my feet. I felt like I'd been punched. That breakfast. I'd made her favorite avocado toast and those fancy eggs she likes. Brought her coffee in bed. Told her I loved her. I don't know how long I stood there listening to them swap stories. My whole body was shaking. I learned that my business trips were her favorite times to have Sutton over. That they'd been sleeping together for over 3 fucking years. That she'd even been with him the weekend of my dad's funeral when she claimed she had food poisoning and couldn't attend. I didn't confront them, didn't make a scene, just silently walked back to my car, drove to a nearby Target parking lot, and sat there until I could breathe again. I must have looked insane. A grown man hyperventilating in his car at 10 p.m. on a Saturday. Once I could think straight-ish, I called Daryl. Thank God his kid was feeling better and he picked up. Dude, my whole life just imploded. I told him everything. Don't go home tonight, he said. Come crash here, we'll figure this out. At Daryl's place, I paced the living room for hours while he Googled divorce lawyers. My mind kept replaying all these moments from the past few years that suddenly made sense. The girls' trips, where she came back with barely any photos. How she'd started keeping her phone face down. The unexplained charges at hotels, less than 30 miles from our house. All those nights she was showing houses to clients after normal business hours. I felt like the biggest fool on the planet. Around 3 a.m., I got a text from Heather. Girls are crashed here. Hope are having fun with the boys. Love you. I nearly threw my phone against the wall. The audacity. You need to be smart about this, Daryl said, taking my phone. Don't tip her off. Not yet. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. Told her I'd crashed at Daryl's after drinking too much. She bought it completely. Even had the nerve to complain about having to clean up after the girls while nursing her hangover. Over the next week, I went into reconnaissance mode. When she was in the shower, I checked her phone. Thousands of texts with Sutton client going back years. Hotel receipts, explicit photos. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. I checked our finances. Hundreds of unexplained charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Lingerie I'd never seen. She'd even used our joint account to book a weekend getaway while I was at my dad's funeral. Each discovery was like another knife in my chest. 8 years of marriage. All the times I defended her to my family when they said she seemed self-centered. All my plans and dreams for our future. Our talks about starting a family next year. All bullshit. I met with a divorce attorney on my lunch break. The most aggressive one in town according to Google reviews. She laid it all out for me. Document everything. Secure my finances. Prepare for the storm. Griffin, I see this every day, she told me. You're doing the right thing by not confronting her yet. The more prepared we are, the better position you'll be in. That night, as I watched Heather laughing at something on her phone, probably texting him, something inside me changed. The pain was still there, but suddenly it was like ice water in my veins instead of fire. I realized I didn't just want out of this marriage. I wanted justice. See, Heather built her whole identity around being respected and admired. Her social status, her reputation, her image as this perfect wife with the perfect life that she carefully curated on Instagram. She prided herself on being the one everyone came to for advice, the moral compass of her friend group, and now I had proof that it was all a lie. I started making moves, transferred half our savings to a new account in just my name, password-protected important documents, made a detailed list of all our assets, photographed everything valuable in the house, all stuff my lawyer recommended. Meanwhile, I pretended everything was fine, kissed her goodbye in the mornings, asked about her day, watched Netflix beside her while she texted Sutton right next to me. Each day I played the role of oblivious husband while methodically preparing to blow up her entire world. 2 weeks in, I was ready. I had everything documented. Financial statements, evidence of the affair, a new apartment lease signed and paid for, support from my family who were horrified by what she'd done. The hardest part was keeping my cool when she'd look me in the eyes and lie. When she'd say, "I love you," before bed. When she suggested we start trying for that baby next month. Each time I wanted to scream in her face, but I stayed calm. Because I knew something she didn't. The woman who laughed about how stupid I was had no idea I was about to become the most methodical, unforgiving force she'd ever face. And I was going to do it all completely by the book. TLDR. Overheard wife bragging to friends about cheating for years. Instead of confronting her, I've spent weeks gathering evidence and preparing the most comprehensive divorce strategy possible. The countdown to D-Day has begun. Update. First off, holy shit, you guys. I didn't expect my post to blow up like that. Thanks for all the support. And the Reddit gold, WTF. For those asking if this is creative writing practice, I wish. It's been 3 weeks since my last update. A lot has happened, so buckle up. Remember how I mentioned having a plan? Well, I've been executing it with military precision. The day after my last post, I noticed something weird. Heather started being extra nice, making my favorite dinners, initiating sex, even suggesting we look at houses in better neighborhoods. At first, I thought she somehow found out I knew, but then I realized guilt. Classic cheater behavior according to all the Reddit threads I'd been obsessively reading at 3 a.m. Let me break down exactly what I've been doing. Finance it. This was priority number 1. I'd already moved half our savings to my personal account. Next, I documented every single expense related to her affair. Those hotel charges? Itemized. The dinners she claimed were with clients, but were actually with Sutton? Spreadsheet. The lingerie she bought for him? Photographed the receipts. My lawyer said this could be considered dissipation of marital assets. Basically, she spent our money on her affair. I also froze our joint credit cards, told her there was suspicious activity and the bank was sending new ones. Technically true, LOL. This gave me time to remove her as an authorized user on my main card. The look on her face when her card got declined at Sephora? Priceless. She called me ranting about how embarrassing it was. I just played dumb and said the new cards must be delayed. Property. I quietly moved my important stuff to my new apartment. Not everything at once, just irreplaceable things like my dad's watch, family photos, and important documents. I did this while she was showing houses, aka screwing Sutton. Each time I moved something out, I replaced it with a cheap duplicate or just rearranged things so she wouldn't notice. The evidence packet. This is where Daryl was clutch. He helped me compile everything into what we called the nuclear file. Screenshots of texts, photos, hotel receipts, credit card statements, a timeline of her affair, and a USB with recordings of her phone calls with Sutton. We're in a one-party consent state. I made multiple copies. One for me, one for my lawyer, one for Sutton's wife. Yeah, I found her. Laura seems like a nice lady who had no idea, and one that would eventually go to Heather's parent. The social angle. This was tricky. I wanted to control the narrative before Heather could spin some BS story, making me the bad guy. So I started having guy talks with our mutual friends. Nothing obvious, just mentioned how Heather seems distant lately, asking if marriage is supposed to feel this lonely sometimes. Planted seeds of doubt without revealing what I knew. I also took screenshots of Heather's Instagram, where she portrayed our marriage as hash relationship goals while she was actively cheating. The hypocrisy was next level. Then came D-Day. I picked it strategically, the day of Heather's big client appreciation event that she'd been planning for months. Here's how it went down. That morning, I acted completely normal, made coffee, kissed her goodbye, told her good luck with her event. She left looking confident as hell in her expensive outfit that I now realized I'd basically paid for her to look good for other men. At exactly 10 a.m., I sent the evidence package to Sutton's wife via courier, included my phone number if she wanted to talk. By noon, all hell broke loose. I was at my new apartment when the texts started flooding in. Why is Sutton's wife calling me? Did you talk to her? Answer your fucking phone. I didn't respond. Just watch the messages pile up. Then Laura, Sutton's wife, called me. We talked for almost an hour. She was devastated but grateful I told her. Apparently, Sutton had been gaslighting her for years about her paranoia. She told me Sutton was now frantically trying to save his marriage, which meant throwing Heather completely under the bus. By 2 p.m., Heather's client event was in shambles. She had to leave early because of the emergency. She kept calling me nonstop. At 3 p.m., I sent a brief, factual email to her parents. No emotional language, just the timeline and key evidence. I've always respected them, and they deserve to know who their daughter really is. I explained I didn't want to hurt them, but I couldn't let Heather control the narrative. By 6 p.m., I was sitting calmly in our living room when Heather finally came home. Her mascara was everywhere, and she looked like she'd aged 10 years in one day. She started with anger. How dare I tell Laura? How could I betray her like this? Then quickly moved to bargaining when she realized I wasn't reacting. She tried everything. Tears, screaming, seduction, more tears. I just sat there, calm as a fucking cucumber, and said we both know exactly what's going on. Then I handed her the divorce papers my lawyer had prepared. The color drained from her face when she realized this wasn't a spontaneous reaction, that I'd been planning this for weeks while sleeping next to her every night. That's when she noticed some of my things were missing. I told her I'd be staying elsewhere, and that she had 3 days to figure out her living situation before I informed our landlord about the breach of our lease agreement. We had a morality clause, another thing my lawyer found useful. The next few days were interesting. She swung between threatening me, "You'll never get away with this," begging, "We can fix this, it was just physical, I've always loved only you," and trying to play the victim. "I was lonely, you work too much." Meanwhile, her social circle was imploding. Michelle and Kathleen ghosted her once they realized their role in this might become public. Her parents called her and had a very disappointing conversation. Her mom's words when she called to apologize to me. And Sutton? That coward was in full damage control with his wife, telling her Heather was obsessed with him and wouldn't leave him alone. The financial reality hit her hard when she realized half our savings was legally moved to my account. Her access to our joint credit cards was gone. She couldn't afford the rent on her own. Her event disaster meant she'd probably lose clients yesterday, was the final nail. She found out from mutual friends that everyone knows what she did. Not because I went around telling people directly, but because Sutton's wife apparently told her friends, who told their friends, and so on. The social circle she'd carefully built around her perfect image was collapsing. She showed up at my new apartment last night. Somehow she got my address, probably from her friend who works at the leasing office across town. She was sobbing on my doorstep, makeup running, looking completely broken. For a split second, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. I let her in because my neighbors were starting to notice, and I'm not about creating scenes. She immediately launched into how she'd made a terrible mistake, how she'd do anything to fix it, how she couldn't believe she'd risked our marriage for someone like Sutton. I just looked at her and said, "Remember when you told your friends I was too stupid to realize you were cheating? Well, surprise." The look on her face when she realized I'd heard everything that night, I can't even describe it. Pure shock, then horror, then shame. She started to say something about how she didn't mean it. She was drunk, it was just talk, blah, blah, blah. I cut her off and told her to sit down because I had something to show her. When Heather showed up crying at my door, she got a surprise she never expected. A complete breakdown of her new financial reality. I had spreadsheets, projections, and a detailed accounting of exactly how fucked she was going to be after this divorce. TLDR. Executed my plan perfectly. Exposed wife's affair to everyone who matters, secured my finances, and watched her entire world collapse in real time. She came begging for forgiveness but got a financial reality check instead. Final update. It's been 6 months since my last post. First off, thanks for all the DMs checking if I'm still alive. I am. Just needed time to process everything before sharing the conclusion to this whole saga. So you know those YouTube videos where they demolish old buildings? How it starts with small, strategic explosions before the whole structure collapses in on itself. That's basically what happened to my ex-wife's life, and I had a front row seat. The morning after Heather showed up crying at my apartment, I woke up to a weird sense of calm. For the first time in months, I slept without waking up at 3 a.m. with that knot in my stomach. Made myself some coffee, scrolled through Reddit, and realized I didn't immediately check my phone for messages from her. Progress. Meanwhile, Heather was experiencing what my therapist later called consequences culture. After leaving my apartment, she apparently drove straight to Michelle's place, expecting her BFF to take her in. According to our mutual friend Jake, Michelle literally pretended not to be home even though her car was in the driveway and the lights were on. Top-tier friendship right there. So what's happened since then? Let me break it down. The divorce proceedings. The actual legal process was surprisingly smooth. My lawyer was worth every penny. During mediation, Heather tried to argue that she deserved half of everything because one mistake shouldn't erase 8 years of marriage. The mediator, this older lady with zero tolerance for BS, just stared at her and asked if 3 years of documented infidelity counted as one mistake. When Heather realized her usual teary-eyed routine wasn't working, she switched to threats. Said she'd drag my name through the mud, tell everyone I was abusive, I wasn't, and make the divorce as painful as possible. My lawyer simply slid the photo evidence of her with Sutton across the table and reminded her that Maryland is a state where adultery can impact alimony decisions. The look on Heather's face was priceless, like when you realize you brought a knife to a nuclear war. We settled 2 weeks later. I kept my retirement accounts and most of our assets. She got enough to start over, but nowhere near the lifestyle she was accustomed to. The judge actually told her she was fortunate, given the circumstances. The financial fallout. This part was tough to watch, even for me. Heather had to move in with her parents in their retirement community. At 32, from our luxury apartment to a guest room with floral wallpaper and a twin bed she'd had since high school. She tried to keep up appearances on Instagram for a while. Lots of cryptic quotes about growth and trusting the journey, with strategic angles that didn't show she was living in her childhood bedroom. But social media is weirdly transparent these days. People notice when you're suddenly posting TBTs instead of new content. Her financial situation went from bad to worse when she lost her job. Not directly because of the affair. Her boss didn't care about her personal life, but because she kept missing work and showing up late. Depression, probably. Can't say I didn't understand that part. The social aftermath. This was the most fascinating part to watch unfold. Our social circle fractured in ways I never expected. Team Griffin, Daryl, obviously, Jake and his wife, most of my coworkers, and, weirdly, Heather's cousin Tina, who, apparently, always knew Heather was selfish. Team Heather. Initially just her parents, but even they were keeping her at arm's length according to family gossip. Then she somehow reconnected with Kathleen, who had gone through her own divorce and was in a men are trash phase. Team Nobody. Most people just distanced themselves from both of us. Can't blame them. Nobody wants to get dragged into divorce drama. The strangest development was Michelle. After ghosting Heather initially, she reached out to me on Facebook to check how I was doing, asked if we could grab coffee sometime. I declined. Something about the way she jumped ship the moment Heather was struggling felt off to me. The Sutton situation. Laura, Sutton's wife, and I kept in touch. Not romantically, we were just two people processing similar betrayals. We'd grab lunch every few weeks and update each other. Sutton apparently tried reconciliation tactics straight out of a bad rom-com, standing outside their house with a boombox, sending massive flower arrangements to her workplace, even trying to get their pastor involved. None of it worked. Laura filed for divorce 3 weeks after D-Day and moved in with her sister in Pennsylvania. Last I heard, she's dating a kindergarten teacher who coaches Little League on weekends. Good for her. Sutton tried to reach out to me, sent this long text about how we're both victims and how Heather pursued him aggressively. I just responded with, which felt both dismissive and perfectly adequate. My personal journey. This part's harder to write about. The first month after moving out, I basically became a hermit. Worked, came home, ordered DoorDash, binged whatever was new on Netflix, slept. Repeat. My apartment looked like a college dorm mattress on the floor, 1 pot, 2 plates, no decoration. Daryl finally staged an intervention. Showed up one Saturday morning with bagels and forced me to actually talk about how I was feeling. I'm not much of a crier, but man, that day was rough. Told him things I hadn't even admitted to myself, how beneath the anger I was just sad. Sad about the years wasted. Sad about the future I thought I had. Sad that someone I trusted completely could betray me so casually. After that, I started therapy. Found this guy through BetterHelp, who specialized in betrayal trauma. He didn't try to push reconciliation or forgiveness or any of that Hallmark card BS. Just gave me practical tools to process what happened and move forward. Small steps followed. Got a proper bed frame. Joined a local soccer league. Actually accepted invitations to social events instead of making excuses. Started cooking again instead of living off of frozen pizzas and protein shakes. 2 months ago, I went on my first date since the divorce. Nothing serious, just coffee with a woman I met through the meetup hiking group I'd joined. It was awkward AF. I'd forgotten how to have a normal conversation with someone new. But it was a start. The final confrontation. Last week, something unexpected happened. I was at Home Depot buying paint for my new place. Finally got tired of staring at white walls. When I literally bumped carts with Heather. She looked different. Hair shorter, clothes less flashy. For a split second, neither of us knew what to do. Then she asked if we could talk for a minute. Against my better judgment, I said yes. We sat on a bench outside, both holding our Home Depot bags like shields. She started with an actual, genuine apology. No excuses, no blame shifting. Just acknowledged how badly she'd hurt me and how she'd been working on herself to understand why she'd done it. I won't lie. Part of me was waiting for the manipulation, the tears, the attempt to get back together, but it never came. She just wanted me to know she was sorry, that she was in therapy too, and that she hoped I was doing okay. Then she told me she was moving to Chicago for a fresh start. Had an interview lined up and was staying with a college friend until she found her own place. The weirdest part? I realized I felt nothing. Not anger, not pain, not even satisfaction at how things had turned out. Just nothing. Like watching the finale of a show I'd stopped caring about halfway through. We said goodbye awkwardly. No hug, just a nod. As she walked away, she turned back and said something that stuck with me. I know it doesn't matter now, but I really did love you. I just didn't know how to love anyone properly, including myself. I stood there watching her drive away, thinking about how 6 months ago, that interaction would have destroyed me all over again. Now it was just a strange Tuesday afternoon errand with an unexpected bump into someone from my past. Where I am now, my new place is coming together. It's smaller than the apartment we shared, but it's mine. No emotional landmines, no memories lurking in corners, just a space that's slowly beginning to feel like home. Work is good. Friends are good. I'm good. Most days, anyway. There are still moments when a song comes on or I see something that reminds me of her, and it stings. But those moments get fewer and further between. Yesterday, I deleted all the evidence files from my computer, kept backups on a drive locked in my safe, just in case, but I don't need those screenshots and timelines taking up space in my digital life anymore. It felt symbolic somehow, like clearing browser cache, but for my actual life. I've started dating someone new, taking it slow. She knows the basics of what happened, but not the ugly details. She's patient with my trust issues and doesn't push when I need space. It's too early to know if it's going anywhere, but it's nice to feel that potential. As for Heather, I heard from her mom, who still sends me birthday cards weirdly, that she's actually doing okay in Chicago. Got the job, found an apartment, making new friends. Part of me is genuinely glad. Not because I wish her well particularly, but because it means this chapter is truly over for both of us. The woman who laughed about me being too stupid to see her betrayal ended up learning the hardest lesson of all, that actions have consequences, that reputations take years to build, but moments to destroy, and that once trust is broken, some things can never be repaired. And me? I learned that I'm stronger than I knew, that starting over isn't the same as giving up, and that the best revenge isn't destroying someone else's life. It's rebuilding your own, better than before. TLDR. Divorce finalized, ex-wife moved across the country, and I'm slowly putting my life back together. The complete dismantling of her life happened mostly through natural consequences, and my renaissance is still a work in progress.